Hello and welcome to Perspectiva. My name is Tom Philpot. Now, a dangerous new escalation in Yemen is raising fears of a wider regional conflict that could disrupt one of the world's most important energy and shipping routes. Now, the latest crisis began after Yemen's internationally recognized government carried out an airstrike on the runway of Sana'a International Airport, claiming it was preventing an Iranian aircraft carrying military equipment from landing. Now, how the Yemen crisis erupted again, well, the details are in this package.
Yemen's Houthi movement launched missiles and drones at Saudi Arabia after accusing Riyadh of bombing Sana'a International Airport. Saudi authorities said their air defenses intercepted missiles targeting the kingdom's southern region. The attacks mark the first claimed Houthi strikes on Saudi Arabia since an informal truce took effect in March 2022. The Houthis say they deliberately targeted Abha International Airport in southern Saudi Arabia.
نفذت القوات المسلحة اليمنية عملية عسكرية نوعية.
The Yemeni armed forces carried out a military operation targeting Abha International Airport using a number of ballistic missiles and drones. The operation successfully achieved its objectives thanks to God.
بنجاح بفضل الله.
The Houthis say the strikes were retaliation for attacks on Sana'a Airport, which Yemen's internationally recognized government claimed responsibility for. Government officials said the runway was targeted to prevent an Iranian aircraft from landing, accusing Tehran of violating Yemeni sovereignty through continued support for the Houthis. The Houthis blame Saudi Arabia for ending years of de-escalation.
إن العدو السعودي.
The Saudi enemy, through its reckless decision to launch what it described as an unjust attack on Sana'a International Airport, bears full responsibility and the serious consequences of this aggression, which serves the American-Israeli enemy and all the repercussions resulting from it.
وما يترتب عليه من تداعيات.
Yemen's internationally recognized government warned that repeated Iranian flights into Houthi-controlled territory crossed a red line. Officials said diplomatic efforts had failed and pledged to prevent any further violations of the country's airspace using all available means. Yemen's defense minister says the government is prepared to respond militarily.
The Yemeni legitimate government, and in coordination with regional and international partners, have tried all diplomatic and legal means to persuade the Iranian regime and the Houthi militia in Sana'a to come to their senses and refrain from violating Yemeni airspace with Iranian aircraft. This violation is not the first of its kind, but it differs from previous incidents in that it openly challenges international legitimacy. Our patience has run out. Accordingly, we will respond appropriately to this treacherous and brutal act by confronting and dealing with the hostile aircrafts violating Yemeni airspace and sovereignty through all available means.
The renewed confrontation threatens to unravel the fragile truce that had largely held since 2022, despite wider regional conflicts. With tensions rising over Red Sea shipping, Iranian involvement, and cross-border attacks, fears are growing that Yemen's long-running war could once again spill across Saudi Arabia's southern frontier.
But security analysts warn that the conflict could soon extend beyond Yemen's borders and threaten the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, one of the world's most strategically important maritime choke points. While the Bab al-Mandeb, often called the Gates of Tears, connects the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden and serves as a vital route for global trade. But around 12% of the world's commerce passes through this narrow waterway each day, including millions of barrels of oil and liquefied natural gas destined for Europe and North America. Now, the renewed tensions come at an especially sensitive time, with shipping already under pressure in the Strait of Hormuz due to the ongoing confrontation involving Iran, the US and Israel. The crisis also threatens Saudi Arabia's alternative export strategy, and the kingdom has been using its east-west pipeline to transport crude oil from its eastern oil fields to the red port sea of Yanbu, allowing exports to completely bypass the Strait of Hormuz. However, if the Bab al-Mandeb becomes unsafe for commercial shipping, that alternative route could also be severely affected, limiting Saudi Arabia's ability to move oil to international markets. As diplomatic efforts continue, governments and energy markets around the world are closely monitoring developments amid growing concerns that a regional military escalation could have significant consequences for global trade, energy security and the world economy. Well, to discuss this situation, we're joined by our guest Ali Hussein Guruzada, who is a geopolitical risk analyst of the South Caucasus and Iran. So hello and welcome to Perspectiva. So the 4-year period of relative calm in Yemen has been shattered. What does this latest escalation mean, though, for regional stability?
This escalation effectively ends the fragile de-escalation regime that had held since spring 2022. For regional stability, it signals a return to an active phase of conflict with a high risk of direct Saudi involvement and a potential chain reaction across the Red Gulf of Aden. And there are important nuances, however. The strike on the runway at Sana'a International Airport reportedly to prevent an Iranian aircraft carrying military equipment from landing, and the subsequent Houthi ballistic missile attack on Abha demonstrate that both sides are willing to test red lines. The Houthis are using the incident to strengthen their domestic legitimacy, while the internationally recognized government, Yemen government, is using to project resolve. At the same time, it's important to remember that the Houthis possess significant autonomy, even through their capabilities. For example, ballistic missiles and drones, and largely depend on Iranian support. Overall, I believe the likelihood of renewed large-scale Saudi airstrikes is increasing, but so far I don't see sufficient indicators that this is imminent.
And so how significant is the Bab el-Mandeb Strait to global trade and energy supplies, and why is the world so concerned about its security?
The Bab el-Mandeb Strait is one of the world's key maritime choke points. Around 10–12% of global seaborne trade passes through it. And even after previous Houthi attacks, 2023 till 2025, it still handled transit of 4–5 million barrels of oil and petroleum products per day, plus significant volumes of LNG heading to Europe and beyond. The concerns isn't unfounded. First, geographically, the strait is narrow, only about 30 kilometers at this narrowed point, making it highly vulnerable to missile and drone attacks from the shore. Second, any serious disruption forces vessels to reroute around the Cape of Good Hope, adding 10–14 days to the journey. What does it mean for markets, especially? It immediately drives up freight rates, insurance premiums, and the cost of goods for Europe, especially, which is already rerouting energy supplies because of the Russia-Ukraine war. This represents a direct blow to energy security.
And so with tensions already affecting the Strait of Hormuz, how serious would it be if the Bab el-Mandeb also became inaccessible to commercial shipping?
First, I should note that this is a high-risk scenario that would fit the concept of a full-scale, large-scale war in the Middle East. Therefore, it's still too early to speak about it with certainty. Hypothetically, however, the consequences could be extremely severe. In essence, it would mean the simultaneous blocking of 2 of the world's main oil gateways. The Strait of Hormuz handles over 20 million barrels per day, while Bab el-Mandeb handles several million more. Combined disruption will affect up to a quarter of global oil and gas supplies. It's difficult to overstate the stress this will place not only on markets, but on the entire world. Concretely, international shipping would be forced to go around Africa. This would trigger a sharp rise in oil prices, potentially up at 20–50 per barrel in the short term, partial collapse of logistics chains, and surge in inflation across Europe and Asia. Insurance companies are already refusing to cover risks in the Red Sea. In the event of a simultaneous crisis in Hormuz, the situations would become critical. Europe would be especially vulnerable as it receives part of its LNG and oil via this route. Domino effect would also hit developing countries through higher food and goods prices. In short, the entire world would feel the impact.
And what role is Iran believed to be playing in the crisis? And how could its regional allies influence this conflict?
Iran plays a key, but not always direct role. Technically, the Houthis receive ballistic missiles, drones, anti-ship weapons, and intelligence from Tehran. The incident involving the Iranian aircraft in Sana'a fits this pattern of support. However, it's important to note that the Houthis are not a fully controlled proxy. Unlike Hezbollah in Lebanon, they have their own agenda, for example, local popular support, and to make independent decisions. In other words, they are more autonomous in their decision-making. There is currently no direct military involvement by other Iranian-aligned proxies, such as Hezbollah of Iraqi formation in Yemen, but they could be used for diversionary operation or the increased pressure on Israel and the United States. Overall, Iran used the Yemeni front as a tool of asymmetric pressure, especially in the context of nuclear negotiations, for example, or in response to actions by Israel or the United States. This allows Tehran to maintain strategic depth without direct involvement. I don't believe that Houthi will escalate significantly against Saudi Arabia at this stage. We are more likely to see exchange of missile strikes, but this is for now. Everything also depends on the dynamics of the next round of Iran-United States tensions.
And Saudi Arabia has relied on its east-west pipeline to bypass the Strait of Hormuz. How vulnerable is that strategy if the Red Sea route comes under threat?
The strategy is partly effective, but carries serious vulnerabilities. The east-west pipeline has a capacity of up to 7 million barrels per day and allows crude to be transported from the eastern oil fields to the Red Sea port of Yanbu. However, actual Philpot is limited by the loading capacity of Yanbu port itself, roughly 3 and 4.5 million barrels per day. The main problem is this: if the Houthis begin systematically threatening vessels in the Red Sea and Bab el-Mandeb Strait, exports through Yanbu will come under direct threat. Saudi Arabia is already operating the pipeline at near maximum capacity because of problems in Hormuz. In the event of a dual threat, Riyadh could be forced to cut production or seek far more expensive and complex alternatives. This is a classic example of a single point failure in a diversification strategy. And again, oil prices would rise.
And what impact could this conflict have then on global oil prices, on shipping costs and inflation if the situation continues to deteriorate?
The impact will clearly be multi-layered and predominantly negative. Oil prices are already sensitive to any news from the region. Further escalation and freeze to shipping in Bab el-Mandeb will trigger a new upward cycle. Specifically, we could see a short-term spike in oil prices of $50 and upper than $4.40 per barrel. Depending on the scale of disruption, freight rates on Europe-Asia routes could rise 3 to 5 times, similar to what happened in 2024, but in a more severe form. A negative scenario is now more plausible. Naturally, inflation would follow, especially in Europe, throughout higher energy costs, transportation expenses, and more expensive imports. This creates what economists call stagflationary pressure, rising prices combined with slowing economic growth. If the crisis drags on, central banks will face a difficult dilemma: fight inflation or support growth. That's it.
And what options do regional international powers have to prevent the conflict from expanding into a wider maritime crisis?
There are not many good enough options in my view. The best approach is a combination of deterrence and diplomacy. Active mediation by Oman and China would be particularly valuable, as both countries have traditionally maintained good channels with both Houthis and Saudi Arabia. Resuming indirect Saudi-Houthi talks would also be important. On the deterrence side, is room for a limited approach. Strengthening the naval presence of coalition forces is hypothetical, of course. The United States and some European countries in the Red Sea but without provocative strikes on Yemeni territory. Offers of reconstruction and humanitarian aid in exchange for an end to attacks on shipping could also be effective. The key is to avoid a spiral of mutual retaliation. History shows that military solution in the Yemeni conflict often produce the opposite of the intended effect.
And looking ahead, do you expect this to remain, I should say, a localized conflict, or could it evolve into a broader regional confrontation with large global economic consequences?
The most likely scenario is managed escalation with periodic flare-ups rather than a full-scale regional war. Personally, I don't yet see the potential for the Yemen-Saudi conflict to grow into something significantly larger. As I have said, much will also depend on the current state of Iran-United States confrontation in the Persian Gulf. That said, the risks of spillover beyond Yemen are quite high. For example, if Saudi Arabia responds forcefully in 40 days, possibly with take it of United States support, and Iran decides to back, of course, the Houthis more actively, the conflict could spread to shipping and energy infrastructure across the region. But in conclude, we are not seeing that yet. For now, the conflict remains localized.
Ali Hussein, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, next up, we look at a rising strategic competition in the Middle East.